Welcome to Not a Roofers podcast, where we discuss roofing
without all the jargon. I'm Brianna.
And I'm Charity.
And this is today's episode.
Hello, and welcome back to Not a Roofers podcast. Today, we will be talking about blistering. And no, it's not that thing that's on your finger.
But it is similar. So we're going to get into my definition. And blister is a noun, and it is a raised area where there is loss of adhesion that can fill with air or water. So there are a couple of reasons why this happens on a roof. But it's usually because of poor installation, poor ventilation, or because there's just a lot of moisture on the roof.
Well, and there's something we're missing on that list. It is also caused by the quality of your materials. If you are not using good materials, I'm not going to say, I don't know how to put this nicely, but like, quality matters. If you're buying the cheapest stuff on the market, it's more likely to blister than the higher quality roofing materials.
Got it. So, blistering can happen to any roof. I have had, I don't want to say the pleasure, but I've had the opportunity to be on a roof that was blistering. It was actually a roof that Roof Medics had restored. And I don't remember why it was blistering. Or no, I do. It was blistering because there was moisture that had been in the roof just because it had been such an old roof, and then they restored it and they thought they had waited for it to be long enough to not blister, but that was not the case, and it ended up blistering. And the problem, at least with that roof, was because the blisters were there and there was still that moisture in the roof system, it was still leaking inside the building, which is why the owner knew that something was still wrong with the roof and called the roof medics back. But there are things that you can do to try and prevent blistering from happening. As Charity said, just making sure that you are buying quality products, but as well with that, also just making sure that you are using a quality roofing contractor. Unfortunately, there are contractors out there that aren't where they should be for quality. But some of the other things are getting your roof work done in good weather. If it rains, you can't put roofing products on in the rain. They're not going to work very well because a lot of roofing products do work on adhesion.
But then you also have to wait for your roof to dry if it is rained.
Yeah. So, there's kind of this misconception of, it rains, and then you think the next day it's a sunny day, like, oh, they can get back to work. And that's not always the case. Your contractor may ask, can we have a day or two or three or even a week of good weather? Because it takes a while for your roof to dry out after it rains. It's no different than the ground. The ground's not just like magically all dry the next day.
It's not. It is here.
Well, you also live in Oklahoma where it's a lot warmer. But think about it. If you have a piece of wood outside, let's say you have firewood outside and it rains, it's not going to be dry the next day.
Oh, it's not even dry the next day when you cut it. You have to let it dry for quite a while before you can even burn it without rain.
Yeah. So the same thing goes for a roof. Ensure that it's properly installed. Of course, again, just have that contractor that you trust and you know that they have all of the right qualifications to be putting the roof on. And then the last way to prevent it is getting those regular inspections with the maintenance that we like to talk about all the time. Everything just goes back to maintenance, really.
It really does. Without maintenance, you never know what's going on with your roof.
Yeah. So one of the things to know is that if there are blisters, if you see blistering on your roof, call a roofing contractor or professional right away to get the blisters fixed properly.
Yeah, this is not an issue that you want to wait. for it to get worse, because then, again, it's going to cost money, and it's not cheap.
Well, beyond that, like, first, there's the problem of the blisters. And then, if you get them fixed improperly because you decided to do it yourself or just call a friend over who maybe doesn't know how to fix them, it's just going to further the problem. Like, you're not helping yourself. I think we should talk about the dangers of blistering, because you might think, like, okay, cool, I have little bubbles on the top of my roof that are filled with air or maybe water. Like, what is the real danger of that? And one of the biggest dangers is that it will kill the lifespan of your roof. Your roof's supposed to last 20 years, but it has blisters on it after 5. Yeah, it's not going to last 20 years.
Well, also, if the blister's caused by water, and you just have water sitting underneath your roofing materials, it's going to start seeping through the membrane. It's going to start seeping through the insulation. It's going to start rotting out your wood.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to have leaking, maybe in your walls, maybe in your ceiling. It causes a lot more issues than just, oh, it's just a small blister.
Yeah, and I mean, if it is blisters filled with water or even air, it really means that there is a different problem with your roof that is probably causing more damage than just the blister. There's a lot of unseen things that happen with a roof. Another danger is that those blisters can pop, just like blisters on your feet or your hands or wherever, and that can lead to a leak, because if a blister pops, that means that the membrane now has an opening in it and water will be able to get in.
If it wasn't filled with water before,
it will be now.
It's gonna be now.
Yeah, and it doesn't matter how little it is. One of our roof technicians has said a couple of times to me, even a pinhole will drain a bathtub. It doesn't matter how little the hole is in your roof, water is going to get in. It's going to find a way inside. If there's a way, it will find it.
It's just going to take a while.
Yeah. It's like, if there's a will, there's a way.
It's still going to happen. However, I feel like a slow leak actually causes more damage than just a massive leak to start with.
I mean, yeah, I guess it depends on where it's at, but I could definitely see that, because if it's a slow leak, you might not be aware of it right away. That would definitely make sense.
And all that time that it's leaking causes a lot of damage.
That is all we have on blisters, so it is time to come up with our definition. I'm going to say it up front. Honestly, the definition of, like, the actual definition of blister is pretty good. I think I'm going to have a hard time really finding another way to put it. Do you have any ideas, Charity?
Bubbling in the roof membrane that is either filled with air, moisture, or water.
What's the difference between air, moisture, and water?
Moisture can be humidity.
Oh, true. Okay, so you said
Not
what?
exactly water.
A bubble in the roofing membrane that could be filled with air, moisture, or water.
Yep.
I think that's good. So, I hope you learned something today, and thanks for joining us. As always, share this with a friend.
If you have any questions, send us an email. We would love to answer them.
Yep, you can email those to marketing@roofmedics.com, or message us on any of our social accounts. We're on Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, and YouTube. We'd love to hear from you. And until then, we will see you next time.
Bye.
That brings us to the end of today's episode. If you've been loving what you're hearing, make sure to press the subscribe button so you get notified anytime we post a new episode. Episodes come out on Monday and Fridays. Please feel free to share this podcast with a friend. We'd love everybody to be able to join us and learn more about the roofing industry as we go along on this journey. If you don't already, follow us on Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, and YouTube. I will put all of our information down in the show notes below. Feel free to contact us with any questions or any roofing ideas that you would love for us to talk about. I hope you have a great day, and we will see you next time.